The bank lobby was bustling, business professionals, wealthy clients, and suited employees moving purposefully. Then an old black man walked in, his clothes worn and his hands clutching a tattered sack. His slow steps drew whispers, his presence an unwelcome contrast to the polished marble floors. The security guard stiffened. The bank manager sneered, "Sir, this is a private bank. Clients only." The man met his gaze, calm and unwavering. "I'm not here to withdraw money," he said, adjusting the sack over his shoulder. "I'm here to check on my bank." The room erupted in laughter. But by the time the truth came out, no one was laughing anymore. The older man, James Whitaker, stood his ground as the laughter continued. A suited banker, a young man with an arrogant smirk, stepped forward. "Oh, really? Your bank? That's a good one. Do you even have an account here?" He scoffed. James remained unfazed. "Son, I have more than just an account here." The room quieted slightly, but disbelief lingered. The manager, a tall woman with a sharp gaze, folded her arms. "Sir, I think you're confused. We don't entertain solicitors." A security guard edged closer. James sighed and reached into his sack. Gasps filled the room as he pulled out a thick, aged ledger bound in leather. He laid it on the counter and flipped through pages covered in careful handwriting, dates stretching back over 50 years. "This bank was founded with my money," he said, his voice steady, "and I still own a majority of its shares." The smirks faded. The bank employees exchanged glances. "That's impossible," one whispered. But the manager's fingers trembled as she flipped through the records. The room tensed as the manager turned to her computer, fingers flying over the keyboard. Silence stretched, the tension thick. The security guard, once ready to escort James out, now hovered uncertainly. Then came the gasp. The color drained from the manager's face. It can't be," she murmured. James Whitaker, a name embedded deep within the bank's history. Majority shareholder, owner. The arrogant banker from earlier paled. James leaned in, his voice calm but commanding. "Back in the 60s, no bank would lend money to a black man, so I built my own." He glanced around. "I hired people like you, trusted people like you, and over the years, I stepped away, believing the next generation would honor what I built." His gaze hardened. "Seems like I was wrong." A murmur spread through the lobby. Some clients stepped back, embarrassed by their earlier laughter. Others grabbed their phones, already searching for the truth. The manager swallowed hard. "Mr. Whitaker, James raised a hand. "Save it." He turned to the security guard. "You were about to throw me out of my own bank. Tell me, is that how you treat all your owners?" The guard looked down, shamefaced. Now visibly shaken, the young banker stammered, I didn't know." James nodded. "And that's the problem." The weight of reality settled on the room. James adjusted his coat, his presence now undeniable. "I came here today to see if my legacy was in good hands," he said, "and I don't like what I see." The bank employees stood frozen, awaiting their fate. The manager finally spoke, her voice shaky. What? What would you like us to do?" James let the question hang. Then he turned, looking at the employees and customers who had judged him. "You all assumed who I was the moment I walked in. Do better, not just for me, but for everyone who doesn't fit your idea of wealth." He exhaled deeply. "Effective immediately, I'll be making some changes." The manager nodded rapidly. "Of course, Mr. Whitaker. Anything you need?" A slow smile touched James's lips. "First, let's start with new management." The manager's breath hitched. The employees exchanged wide-eyed looks. James turned to the security guard. And you? The man swallowed hard. I I was just following orders, sir. James gave a slow nod. Maybe next time, question them. By the following week, the bank had a new direction. James reinstated old policies that protected small business owners, ensuring loans were accessible to everyone, regardless of race or background. He hired a new manager who understood the importance of integrity. And as for the young banker who mocked him, James gave him a choice: resign or enroll in mandatory racial bias training. The young man, humbled, chose the latter. News of the incident spread, sparking conversations about wealth, race, and assumptions. Many who had laughed that day walked away with a lesson they'd never forget. And James? He walked out of his bank the same way he entered, head high, sack in hand. Only this time, the respect in the air was undeniable. Because sometimes the wealthiest man in the room isn't the one in a tailored suit. It's the one carrying the weight of history on his back. If you enjoyed this story and found it thought-provoking, please don't hesitate to subscribe for more powerful narratives.